Hello and welcome to a new video. This is Sam from England. We're on board with a new episode since we've just announced that Glenn Rivers has been replaced by Nick Nurse. So he was number one for a lot of people, and certainly number one for myself as a candidate I wanted to replace. I said it in my last video and podcast, which I'll be linking below. So I've now got it on Apple store. I'm looking at Spotify as well to add it on for those Android users. But yes, I'm really happy with Nick Nurse. I don't think there's a problem with his approach or style. Some people are questioning about the situation with regards to minutes on the Raptors for his starters or his main stars, but he managed Kawhi very well. And I think that you can expect him to do the same with Embiid. That now there needs to be that sort of agreement, and it sounds like Embiid was involved in every part of the process when they were talking and in the hiring, and that gives me reassurance that there's going to be a good relationship between the two there, which also then makes me believe that there's been some sort of guarantees or some sort of promises made by Daryl Morey, Elton Brand, whoever, that what they're going to do with regards to the development side of the ball, whether that's developing Maxi further, some of the G League players and getting them into the rotations, and also bringing in some veteran experience, young players from, undrafted or whatever. So there's got to be something there where Nick Nurse has got some sort of say over inputting of those rotation players, because unless we move Harris, obviously it's going to be very tough to make a major move, a major sort of changes or tweaks to the starting lineup. So I like to think that that means that there's going to be a real big sort of off season with the rotation again. And I don't think it needs a major overhaul. I think it just needs a few tweaks. So let's hope that Nurse is going to get what he needs and wants in order to play a system. I've seen that they've been mentioning about playing more of a triangle offense, and that obviously could work quite well with Embiid. It hard, I think it would work well with Harden. Should Harden stay, and I hope he does, because I think that that's the best way forward for us. I've seen Van Fleet like the tweet. So are we able to sign him on some sort of deal, being a free agent? I'm not sure. So yeah, I'm really happy with Nick Nurse. I think he's going to bring a lot of experience that we need in the modern game. Doc Rivers, Glenn Rivers did a really good job with the Celtics, right? And he did a good job in making that team a really good team. But he had three superstars. He knew what he was doing with that team, and I think he deserves credit for that, absolutely. And he deserves some credit with the helping develop Maxi and bringing in Sam Cassell and bringing in his own coach stuff that helped develop the players. But at the end of the day, he wasn't an X and O's coach, and I'm hoping it's going to be similar to the Eagles, where we've gone from a coach that's clearly liked by the players. I think Rivers was definitely respected, liked, um, sort of accepted by the players by what he said and did, and his sort of approach to the games. What I think we need is that X's and O's. So, is it going to be Doc Rivers like Doug Peterson? And then is Nick Sirianni going to, then Nick Sirianni comes in, the X's and O's, and then is that going to be our Nick Nurse? And then maybe we do go further or back. And I know it's a harsh comparison because Dougie P did win us a Super Bowl, and we didn't win the Super Bowl this year. But we've got a chance to win it again next year because of Nick Sirianni's coaching ability, as well as obviously Harry Roseman. So can Daryl Morey do a sort of his version of the goat of GMs in Howie, and can Nick Nurse become Nick Sirianni of basketball, and come in first year, do really well? And I know you can't really compare because Nick Nurse is experienced in the NBA, and he coached here in England, spent a bit of time here. But Nick Sirianni came in and was more X's and O's and did really well. And in his second year, got us to the Super Bowl. So are we going to see more X's and O's development in the team? Because I think that's what's been missing the most. There's not, you don't go out and say this and this about a team, about our team. That our team was pretty much under Brett Brown. It was, let's do fast break offense, and then with Doc Rivers, it was pick and roll. Outside of that, it was all over the place. I didn't really know. It wasn't consistent. And I know you don't want to always have a consistent approach. You want to be flexible, but it needs to be coached in. It needs to be done throughout the week and on your off days and things like that. So for me, I think Nick Nurse can do that and make that buy-in. And I am trustworthy of his sort of I don't know what you'd call it, but sort of, I don't want to call it bubble wrapping, but I know some people will say that, of Joel Embiid, or protecting Embiid, making sure that he has a superstar ready for the moments that are needed. Those games where it's a big game on national TV, where seedings are important, where your head-to-head is more important, and then into the playoffs. So I don't think he's going to run him into the ground. And I've seen, those jokes and things, but I'm really excited about Nick Nurse. I really think that there's a bit more to it than just we're hiring Nick Nurse and this is what's going to be going for. There's definitely more to it. And I think that means that there's going to be some exciting sort of changes within the Sixers organization, whether that's, like I say, in the development side of it, because I think it will be a long-term vision or a few-year vision for Nick, because I don't think it's going to be an easy turnaround to go, this year we're going to be a contender, but potentially in 2 years we're going to be a contender. And I know it's not, we don't want to push it back further, but I think this year will be a sort of settling in year for Nick. Maybe give it a go and get to that Eastern Conference Finals, and then go to the finals year after when you've got a bit more flexibility without Harris's contract. Hopefully Maxey develop, probably give him the max and maybe move a few pieces around. But I think there's a lot more to it, and it'll be interesting to see what happens over this summer. So it's definitely going to be one where things broke. Definitely going to be one where we're keeping a close eye on our Sixers fans, despite the fact that Phillies are playing and hopefully pick it up. And you've also got OTAs and things like that going on with the NFL. But I think it's going to be a really exciting summer for us Sixers fans. We're going to be keeping an eye on a lot of things. Summer league's going to be really, again, interesting, like it was during the process era, I think, because I think Nick Nurse is really going to look out for some players that can give him some bench minutes and development, like he did in Toronto. He did make some solid, players like Van Vliet before Nick Nurse got there was nowhere near borderline all-star player, and now he could make all-star games every now and then, depending on injuries and things like that. He's a borderline all-star. So, but before he got there, he was just an average player. So I'm really hoping that he can do something like that with a player, second round player, or an undrafted player, where we can kind of develop them into a decent bench piece or decent starter. So if anyone can do it, it would be Nick Nurse. I think he is one of the best coaches in the league. Definitely the best one that was available, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts below. Like and subscribe. I'm also going to put this on Apple Podcast as well, so it'll got the first ever sort of podcast format, as well as the YouTube format, and hopefully I will make this grow. Please, if you do click on the link below on Apple, subscribe to it and things like that as well, because that will really help with growing my channel and hopefully getting me over for an Eagles game, because I do want to be over later this year for an Eagles game. But that's my Sixers and 6, with Nick Nurse being the new head coach of our Philadelphia 76ers.